I always get a lot of requests to do like a behind the scenes of this vlog, which I'm not so sure I understand because it's a vlog, there are no scenes. By virtue of it being a vlog, everything's kind of behind the scenes. So I'm not sure what you're asking for when you ask for a behind the scenes, but it's Monday, so I thought I would show some of the mechanics of how I make the vlog. I don't have anything else to talk about today, so this is like filler. This is a filler vlog. Okay, I've already been over this before, but this is my main camera here. This is a Canon Rebel. I used to have a 70D, but that camera, but this camera broke. Anyways, so now I use, now I'm using this thing, this Canon Rebel. For the price, I guess it's okay. This is the camera that I try to use for all of my shooting because it looks good. This directional mic up here is pretty good. I use like this selfie stick apparatus so it's not all up in my face like this. See that drifting focus? That's this camera. The other one was a little bit better. I can't always carry around with me this huge, somewhat ridiculous camera rig. Like if you think of me like a gangster who carries around a Tommy gun, that's the big camera. But you have to have your sidearm too, at the ready at all times. So I always have a camera at the ready too. And basically it's like, if the shots are premeditated, meaning I considered shooting them before I actually shot them, they go on this big pretty camera. If they're super spontaneous, they're on this little camera. So some things that I haven't done before. From a narrative perspective, I try to cut out like a small piece of my day and find a story. And I make that story sort of the underlying theme of that day's vlog. If there's like a nugget of the day where I'm doing something that's not me sitting at my desk or having meetings, I try to make a vlog about that. And usually I've done like 0 editing by the time I get home. If I'm lucky, I'll find like 20 minutes throughout the day to actually import the footage. I get home at like 7:30, hang around with the baby, hang around with Candace. By 8:30 or 9, I sit down to edit. I edit using this train wreck of a software here. It's called Final Cut Pro X, and it really is not great software. There are a number of better options. I'm just unwilling to take the time to learn something better. What makes it easier to vlog every day is if you have some sort of a format. Mine is very loose at best. I always have a time lapse at the beginning. I always have an abrupt ending because I find that to be like really satisfying to watch. Besides that, my format is extremely loose. And my goal with this vlog isn't, and it has never been, to like share all the intimacies of my life. It's always just been to create a good or entertaining piece of content every day.
All right, Casey, what is your favorite quote?
Okay, it's in the foreword to a book called Herzog on Herzog. And the quote is something like, don't quote me on this. It's something like, never have a plan B. People with a plan B will invariably fall back on it. That's why they have it in the first place. What do you enjoy most about work? For me, work is about being productive. It's about doing something. That sense of accomplishment or that sense of productivity is what I enjoy most about work. And to me, like, work and life are one and the same. So all of those values hold true when thinking about life in general. How can I promote my YouTube videos to reach new subscribers? You know, there's no secret trick to growing a YouTube channel. And this is like advice that no one likes hearing. But if you make great content, you will find your audience. There's not much more to it than that. You can hack it, you can try to trick it, and you might get a little bit of followers. But if you want followers that actually care, people watching your content that actually give a shit about it, then it's about making content that people care about. What I want to talk about today is the power of creation, or what can actually be accomplished if and when you make things. And I do want to throw a caveat out there that these ideas that I'm talking about, this idea specifically that I'm going to do like a drawing around, it's not uniquely mine. This is an idea that I developed with my professor at MIT, a brilliant, brilliant man. And it's something that I've been sitting on for a while and that I've been really anxious to share. And this seemed like a great time for it. The power of creativity really falls into 3 categories, 3 tiers, if you will. Let's get into it. The creation hierarchy. The creation hierarchy is an upside down triangle. So let's talk about one. Let's talk about here. And this is to create. To create is to make something, make anything. It's much harder than it sounds. Most people stop just before the process where they make something, where they actually create something. This is like the first movie that I have actual record of that I made. That baby is Owen, and I probably made this movie 15 and a half years ago. And it's terrible. It's cute, but it's terrible. But I did it, I made it. And it's the doing that's the most important part. Now, to take that idea of making something to another level, my HBO show, look at that guy. That show we just made. My brother and I and the guy that we worked with to make, we just made it. HBO never hired us. We just made it. We just created. That's creating. That's step one. It reaches the least amount of people. It's the easiest to do, but it's the most important because it's the first step. Let's get into step two. Tier two is when your creation, what you make, inspires and motivates others to create. It's to make work that other people see, and it compels them to make work of their own. It's the people that came that I looked up to when I was younger, like the Spike Jonze and the Michel Gondrys and the Werner Herzogs. I would look up to them and I'd be like, I want to make work like that. And the reason why that's tier two is because that is incredibly powerful. That's because for those people, the people that inspired and motivated me, they make one movie and it can move an entire generation. Their one creation can affect an entire group of people to create. That is huge. And this just leaves the third tier, the final tier. And the final tier lives up here because it is by far the hardest to accomplish, but it's the most powerful because it can affect everyone. It can affect the most amount of people. And that third tier is to create a tool that empowers others to create. Let me explain. The only formal film school education I've ever had was using the iMovie 1 tutorial. I think that was the seed that was planted that has since grown into this gigantic monster of a tree that is my career. Without the geniuses at Apple to build that software and to have made the computer that enabled me to learn how to edit, I wouldn't have the career that I have today. They built a tool that empowered me to create. That is huge. That's gigantic. That's why that's the top, at the top of the creation hierarchy. The thing that affects the most people, that is the hardest thing to do. Now, I know there was a lot of speculation online that I would reveal all the details of my new company on today's vlog. And let me just be clear, I can't and I'm not going to. But I want to talk about it in sort of abstract terms. And by the way, I'm not withholding information about the new company for any other reason than there's these really stupid, pain in my ass, bullshit, nonsense, up bullshit things that I'm currently dealing with and working on overcoming, so I can broadly announce all the specifics around it. Believe me when I say I had intended on sharing every aspect of it with you, the audience, weeks and weeks ago, and there are just these things preventing me from doing so. Okay, now that I got that off my chest. This thing is my attempt to do my very best to accomplish this. To create a tool that empowers others to create. And whether it's going to work, whether it's going to be used, I don't know. What else can I tell you about the new company? Well, I can tell you what it's not, because I've been reading all your comments and all these all you geniuses that know all the facts. You're wrong. It is not, and I want to be unequivocal here, it is not a vlogging app. Did you hear that? It is not a vlogging app. In fact, if you're a vlogger or a filmmaker, you probably won't even like it. Who it's for is everyone else. It's for people who have ever wanted to share but couldn't figure it out. And what this thing does that we've been working the last year and a half on, this incredible team, We're trying to build something for everyone, not for people that consider themselves creators, because that would be very limited. This is for everyone. My hope for it is that it becomes a really powerful tool that people want to use. My ambitions behind this thing are greater than anything that I've ever committed myself to. Okay, that is my creation hierarchy shtick. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be more vlogs in the future, and there'll be serious ones like this where I get all like amped up about something that I believe in, and there'll be plenty of silly vlogs where I like make fun of One Direction for all you teeny boppers, and there'll be fun other vlogs where I like hang out with Candace for all the ladies that comment below about how cool she is. She is pretty cool. And there'll be plenty of Owen, because he's cool and he's handsome, and there'll be plenty of Francine, because that is like the crutch of this vlog. When I think I'm failing, I put Francine in and she saves the vlog. And hang in there, all the details around the new company will be revealed very, very soon. And thanks for 100. What are your motivations to get up in the morning? I don't know, I'm always in a crazy rush to get my day started. Laying in bed is stagnation. It's like I'm not doing anything. So there's always a real urgency for me to get up, get out, and start the day. The only thing in life that stands between you and everything you've ever wanted to do is doing it. On today's vlog, Beam, a history lesson. A super short history about how Beam came to be. I love social media. I owe like so much of my career to social media. I use every social media platform out there. But I've always had like my own ideas about what is needed in social media. And about a year and a half ago, sharing those ideas with like a mentor of mine, I was encouraged, he encouraged me. I realized that all that stood between me and everything I've ever wanted to do in life was doing it. And that's when I decided to start Beam. The first thing I did was I needed money, so I went around and asked everybody that I could think of that might give me money for money, and I got a small amount of money. I wanted to start a technology company, but I'm not a technologist. I don't know how to do these things. So I set out on this mission to figure out how, and eventually I met Matt. Matt is my business partner. Matt is a visionary. Matt knows technology. Matt ran engineering at Tumblr from when they were this big until they're the Tumblr you know today. This guy knows how to make things happen. And he's a visionary. He shares the big picture with me. All right, Matt, tell me, why Beam?
It's the first thing since I left Tumblr that felt like it could be that big, that millions of people would actually love and get obsessed with in the same way.
For like 6 months, it was just the two of us trying to figure out what Beam is, how to do this like big, ambitious idea that we had. How do we realize this? And at the end of those 6 months, we built like, it's not an app, it just sort of looks like an app on your phone. And that's when we needed more money. And this is where it got really scary, like really scary. Have you ever asked anybody for money? The last time I asked someone for money was like freshman year in high school, asking my dad for extra lunch money so I could buy a dime after class. Asking for money is scary, and we needed a lot of money. So I leaned on all the influential people I know to set me up with meetings with the kinds of people that can write big fat checks for entrepreneurs like me that want to start a company. They're called venture capitalists. Now I'm going to look up on Wikipedia what a venture capitalist is so I can explain it to you. Is financial capital provided to early stage, high potential growth startup companies. Just getting a meeting with these VCs was tricky. Then you have to sit down in front of them and you have to tell them your idea, and then you ask them for an insane amount of money. It's a little bit like going up to like the best looking person in your entire high school and asking them to prom. And invariably they're gonna say, no, I'm not gonna go to prom with you. Some of them said, why don't you go to prom alone this year, and if you're prom king, I'll go with you next year. But most of them just said no. And when someone says no to you, it rattles your confidence. It really gets into your head. And we were doing meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. And while all of this was taking place, Candace was 9 months pregnant in Houston, Texas. She was ready to pop. Then on our second trip out there, finally got some actual tangible interest. People that wanted to invest or sort of wanted to invest. That morning, 7 a.m., Candace calls me.
Nothing's hurting badly yet, so we're just packing up and gonna check in.
This was 2 weeks early. The doctor gave us assurances there was no chance she was gonna go into labor. I just hope she waits for me. Matt and I are racing to the airport. We had to cancel all of our important venture capitalist meetings. I flew to Texas, we had the baby, everything was perfect. Here's a great little video I made about going to have the baby. But the deal didn't close. And Candace and I were in the hospital with Francine when she was born for 5 days. And I never left the hospital for those 5 days. I stayed with her. But I commandeered the nurse's break room, which was right next to Candace's hospital room. And I would literally spend every moment that Candace was asleep in that nurse's room with this notepad on my phone like this, trying to make the deal happen. And in the end, Francine was perfectly healthy, and we left the hospital with our lovely, new, beautiful, healthy baby girl. And in the end, Matt and I closed on over $2 million in funding for Beam. I'm a 17-year-old filmmaker. How do I get started in advertising? You have to make really great work, and then they will come to you. I mean that. Sean, will you ever retire? I've been asked that question before. Retirement is something that I have no interest in.
What does that even mean?
I know, I love work so much. Work is life. How would you not want to, what do you do if you retire? What do you think about the comfort zone? I think it's the worst place you could ever be. When you're hungry, you want more. When you're wildly successful, you can embrace your hard work and be proud of it. When you're in the comfort zone, it's just blah. Alex asks, other than hard work, what advice would you give to better yourself both in life and in your career field? Focus. Focus is super underrated. If you commit all that you are and all of your energy to one thing, you'll... Okay, this diagram, I took this from a book called, I don't know what it's called, but it goes like this. All right, you can do 10 things to the first degree, like this right here, and that's how well you'll do all 10 things. Or you can do one thing to the 10th degree right there, and look how much better you do that. So when it comes to focus, to put all of your energy into one thing is to do that one thing really well, to the best of your abilities, to take it all the way. And to scatter yourself means you're never actually accomplishing anything. You're just sort of chipping away at a bunch of nothingness. And this is true for work, this is true for dating versus committing yourself to one person, friendship, everything. Really focusing and investing yourself into something you're passionate about will always yield better results than scattering yourself around, than spreading yourself thin. How do you overcome the fear of doing what you like? I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, but taking chances in your career or taking chances in life is always scary. And typically if it's something you really like, something you're passionate about, it requires taking a chance to pursue that. What I always ask myself, the question I always push up against is, what is the alternative? If I don't do what I love, if I don't pursue this thing that I want to pursue, what is the alternative? I do something that I don't like because I'm supposed to. Fear is real. Fear is something you will always have to confront. But what's on the other side of fear is always something that's worth it. Casey, I would love to share with you my app idea. Okay. Now I'm going to try not to sound like a total asshole when I answer this, but I feel like this relationship is about truth, and I have to tell you how I honestly feel when people, not just this person, but anyone says, I have an app idea I'd love to talk to you about. I don't want to hear your idea. Ideas, especially in technology and in filmmaking, ideas are the easiest part. In technology in particular, you can look at an app and say, an app should do this, that's a great idea. But realizing that is unbelievably hard. The seed that is the idea, it very seldom ends up manifesting into what the final version of that app looks like. What I mean by that is like, when Twitter was started, it was a way to let your friends know when you're at a rave or a concert. Like that's what Twitter was. That was their intention behind Twitter. They had like a little idea that wasn't even a great idea. But years and years of work and hundreds and now thousands and tens of thousands of employees and millions of users turn it into something much, much, much greater. And that's the hard part. The idea is the easy part. If you want to make something, make it and show it to me, I'd love to see it, but I'm not interested in the idea. Can you make your vlogs longer? No. When I watch a movie that's too short, but I really like, I'm always like, that was great, I wish there was more. And when I see a movie that I really love, like Trainwreck I saw this weekend, it was great, but it was like 20 minutes too long. So I left thinking not that was a great movie, I just left thinking that was too long. So I'd always rather leave the viewer, I'd always rather be left as the viewer wishing for more than I would being left with like, that was too much. Plus I just don't have time, like that's crazy. It takes me like half the day to make 6 minutes of interesting content. I wouldn't know how to do 20. So I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to talk about, what I wanted to do for my 1 millionth subscriber YouTube video. I want to make a video about why. Why make internet videos? It's something I have some strong opinions about. That's mainstream. That's mainstream. That's mainstream too. Mainstream. See that? That's mainstream. Mainstream. Want to see some really old stuff? Look at this. That's when they named me. I was in the Beautiful People issue. Look how beautiful. That's my brother. He's way prettier than me. Television, movie theaters, feature films, film festivals, all that represents is like a level of success in what would be described as the mainstream media. The internet has been seen as a stepping stone, like part of the route to get you to mainstream media. If you do well here, maybe you can get to TV. Maybe you can make a movie that goes into a film festival. That's what I take issue with. I disagree with that. I think YouTube, I think the internet, I think that is mainstream. I think it is the maximum degree of relevance when it comes to media. YouTube is mainstream. It's not a stepping stone, it's the finish line. Let me explain. All right, I'm gonna have to go to, whoa. I'm gonna have to go to the overhead shooting table for this one. See, historically, filmmaking has always been an elitist art form. Here's what I mean. If you wanted to be a painter, you needed a brush and paint. If you wanted to be a writer, you needed a pen and paper. But if you wanted to be a filmmaker, you needed cameras and film and lenses and gear and people and actors and money and connections and distribution. You needed to know important people. It's never been an accessible means of self-expression. But technology changed that. The beauty of putting movies on the internet is that it's democratic, it's egalitarian, and most importantly, it's a meritocracy. And what that means is, if your videos have an audience, if the work you're making is interesting to anyone, those people can find it. So all you have to be concerned with is making something that someone else wants to watch. You know that old saying, it's not what you know, but who you know? My favorite part of YouTube is that no one gives a shit who you know. They just care whether they like it or they don't. And the reason why I shifted from mainstream, from all those accolades I showed you earlier, to the internet is because of this. There's me, and there's the audience. And when I decide my video is done, I click upload and distribute it to the world. And whoever wants to see it can see it. It's taking us, that's you and me, to a place of true self-expression. That is, when you have an idea, when you have something to say, you can say it, and you can say it to everyone in the world, and you can do it without needing anyone else, without needing any resources outside of your reach. Zooming in for dramatic effect. That's why I say vlogging is my favorite film genre. The societal and cultural impacts of this are unknown, but if you take one little glimpse at where they're headed, it matters. That's why 1 million people choosing to subscribe to see my content on the internet is more important to me than any of those mainstream accolades. And lastly, to round this out, why have I shifted and committed so much of my life to building a platform, Beam, where people can share their own self-expression, is because the true goal with Beam, the ambition with Beam, is to do everything I just described, but to remove the aspect that is creation. Right now, you have to have a creative expression. And our goal, our manifesto at Beam, is to remove that need of creation and just have it be about sharing. That's why there's no review or preview or any of that. That's it. This video, I didn't want this video to come across as like me shilling Beam, but I wanted to tie it all together and share with you, my audience, why I'm so passionate about what I do online, what I do with these vlogs, and definitely what I do at Beam. Okay, thanks for the subscribe. See you at 2.